Why do midwives take so much blood at your first antenatal appointment? Let's break it down. My name is Dr. Claire Tower and I'm a consultant obstetrician and expert in maternity care. It might look like a lot of blood, but actually each one of those tubes only contains either half or a full teaspoon of blood. Each tube tells us something really important about you and your baby. I'm going to go through each blood test that you have in turn. Everybody gets checked with a blood count, and this blood count looks for two main things. It looks for anemia, which is how much hemoglobin you have in the blood, and that can tell us whether you need some iron during pregnancy. And it also looks for the tiny little cells called platelets, which cause blood clots, and they will also be counted on that test. Another blood test is for the inherited forms of anemia, and most of these are fairly rare, but it's things that you might have heard of, like, for example, sickle cell disease. Fourthly, we'll check for some infections. Now, these infections are probably fairly rare, and we only check for a small number of infections, but these are things that we can do something about and are important for your baby. And these include hepatitis B, HIV, and syphilis. And it's important that the midwife explains those to you, because you can decide not to opt for the test, particularly for HIV. Finally, some units also do a screening test called a hemoglobin A1C, which looks for pre-existing diabetes. There's one other sample that you'll also have taken at your first test, and that's a urine sample. And you need to get used to having urine samples taken all the way through the pregnancy. And that gets dipped to look for both sugar and protein, and then the midwife will send that sample off to look for infection that perhaps you don't know you've got. If anything needs follow-up, you should hear from your midwife. So take a deep breath and know that each tube has an important purpose. Healthy mum, healthy baby, one tube at a time.